Facebook.com and punch in either John David Vox or The Wells Report, and you will see a link there that I will put up in just a moment or two. And it would be good for you to be able to do that. There's a chat room in there that I interact with from time to time, and it's fun. Our telephone number again is 844-927-6691, 844-927-6691. A year ago, Donald Trump was elected president of the United States. A year ago. Can you believe it? Now, he hasn't been in office for a year, but he was elected a year ago. And people are jumping the bandwagon saying, well, let's talk a little bit about the president after a year in office. Well, he hasn't been in office for a year. He's been in office for about, shall we say, 9 months. But let's ask the question anyway. How is President Trump doing? 844-927-6691. How's he doing? Are you happy with him? You happy with the president of the United States? Has he done good things? Does he have more good things to come? Or are we just about seeing it? Have we just about seen everything this president has to offer? What's interesting about this is that Donald Trump has changed American politics by exposing much of it. It started the instant he became a candidate. The first thing that happened is the mainstream Republicans started to yell and scream and so on, and started putting this guy down as some sort of charlatan and fake. What he was an American citizen who wanted to run for president. And that is the American system. And so these people were passionately arguing against the American system. Joining in the chorus of arguing against the American system, not just Republicans, but the mainstream media started talking about how stupid Donald Trump was. What was happening is that every time they said that Donald Trump was stupid, they were looking right down through the tubes in their television cameras, right out to you and me, and saying that we were stupid because we were the people that were voting him into office. And I'm sorry, but we are not stupid. We are Americans. Thomas Jefferson knew this better than anybody. He said the only people in the United States that know who the president of the United States should be are the people. And he was completely correct. The people of the United States are the only people in America that know who the president should be. We are also the arbiters of freedom and liberty. We're the only ones that know what freedom and liberty should be. This according to our nation's third president, Thomas Jefferson. So now you had the Republican Party talking about how stupid Americans were, the mainstream media talking about how stupid Americans were. The Democrats have always talked about how stupid Americans are. I mean, it's their stock in trade. We are too stupid to be able to spend our own money. Therefore, the government needs to be empowered to spend our money for us. No, I don't think so. And so what do we have? We have a president that was elected to office by the people because they were sick of politics as usual. And that includes all the namby-pamby, mealy-mouthed garbage about we've got to have some good reaching across the aisle. We have to have a circumstance whereby we do bipartisan good fellowship. And I'm going, here, let me get this straight. What you do is you say, we have to have bipartisanship as long as Democrats are not in power. But as soon as Democrats are in power, then bipartisanship goes right out the window, right? I mean, that's what happened between 2008 and 2010. No Republicans could do anything. Legislation was written to be purposefully difficult to understand. Nancy Pelosi famously said, we have to pass the bill before you can find out what's inside it. Oh, really? How did that work out for us? Not real good. Those people are still in office. Those people are still in power. They are still making these gigantic errors. And what are we doing? We may be enabling more of it. What I told people when Donald Trump was elected, you are going to have to continue to support this president at every turn. Because if you do not, the jackals of American politics will chew him to ribbons. The only thing that can save him is we, the people of the United States, standing up for our vote, standing up for the people's president, standing up for the populist. There are people saying that after just a one election, a handful of mayorships, 2 governorships, that the idea of conservatism and populist conservatism is over. Yeah, okay. That's wishful thinking. It's just beginning. This is going to be a rough ride. It is going to be a rough ride because the people who are against America and Americans, and once again, mainstream Republicans are against us. The Democrat Party absolutely against us. The mainstream media against us. All of these people against us. They are going to continue to pound on us, and it's going to get tiring. And yes, we are going to be in a position where our patience is tried to the limit. But what's the alternative? The alternative is to have somebody looking into a camera saying, you don't worry your pretty little head what's in this bill. We'll take good care of you. And they did take good care of us. They spent $5.5 trillion. $5.5 trillion. $5.5 trillion. There are 330 million of us. $330 billion is just a particle of $5.5 trillion. But think about if they just took that money and just spread it out amongst the American people. But they didn't do that. Where'd all that money go? Where did that money go? Nobody said a word. Everybody wants to audit the Fed. Oh, we've got to audit the Fed. That's because they don't know what money is, and that's because they don't know what the Fed does. It's because they don't pay any attention to what their bank says to them. You know, when you overdraw your account, they charge you money and they say, hey, you've overdrawn your account. The Fed doesn't do that. The Fed goes, you guys are blowing it. And somehow the Fed is supposed to be the big thieving animal. The big thieving animal is the United States government and the people who are in it. That's the big thieving animal. It's so funny to listen to people talk about this. They overlook the actual bank robbers that are fleecing the American people, not just us, but our children and our children's children, just fleecing us. Putting together all of those bronze plaques, you know, those bronze plaques that are on buildings and bridges and so on, except we're not getting anything tangible out of any of this. There's nothing in Obamacare to hang a bronze plaque on. Nothing. except, of course, the brand new multi-billion-dollar headquarters for some insurance company. Suppose you can put a bronze plaque on that. Thank you, President Obama. Thank you very much for convincing the people of the United States, albeit very tenuously, that they were too stupid to pick their own doctor and pay their own bills. Because you made us billions of dollars. And that is exactly what Obamacare was all about. Now, I can't help but believe that the actual election of Donald Trump was not a complete reaction to the now $20 trillion debt we have, the idea that Americans were too stupid to be able to pick their own doctor, pay their own medical bills, too stupid to realize that we probably should have had something like health insurance in case the big bills came. But then again, we created a government system that made the big bills endemic to the, quote, solution. Obamacare wasn't about giving people insurance. It was about giving people an insurance card. Well, more people got an insurance card. That didn't work. And the rest of us, talking to a buddy of mine, he's got a neck surgery coming up. He has a neck surgery coming up. And the good news is that between his medical bills and his wife's medical bills, they finally were able to pay all the out-of-pocket costs. Over $10,000. $10,000. Out the window. For what? Again, because we, the people of the United States, allowed politicians, arguably the most expensive people in the American inventory, to convince us that we couldn't take care of ourselves and that only the government could do it. And now what they're trying to do is they're trying to bludgeon us with our choice of president, bludgeon us into believing that maybe we made a mistake. We didn't. The people of the United States did exactly the right thing, elected exactly the right person for the right reason at the right moment. The Democrats had a good night. Glad to hear it. Glad to hear it. But at the end of the day, they're still Democrats. At the end of the day, they still hate America. At the end of the day, they will say that the freedoms and liberties that our founding fathers gave us, our founding framers of this nation gave us, are somehow wrong. That free speech should be supplanted by political speech. The days after a good Samaritan neighbor came out in his bare feet with his AR-15 and ended another mass shooting in the United States, they will tell you that this man shouldn't have had a weapon to begin with. It should have been too hard for him to get a weapon. When all the laws that everybody passed to make sure that the nut who was killing people in a church couldn't get a weapon failed. Every single one of those laws failed. Why? Because of a government system that failed. So when I say the government simply can't do it, I mean the government simply can't do it. When I say that the government simply can't do it, it's based on years of experience. What we need is real Americans in the real American government working to the benefit of other real Americans. We're the closest to having that we've ever been. We need to keep it. You're listening to the Wells Report. This is the USA Radio Network.
You're clear.
That was a little smoother.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I really don't feel good.
I know you don't.
Huh?
I know.
I'm sorry. Hello, everyone.
What are you sorry for?
Well,
You don't have to be sorry for being sick.
whew. Well,
Have you tried eucalyptus oil?
no,
It
I've
does work.
tried synthetic motor oil. That's not bad. Synthetic motor oil. Have you gone to Facebook to look at this telecast that I do?
Nah, not really. I'm actually trying to. While your show's going on, I'm trying to keep everything, the other stuff I gotta do up to date. Which, by the way, I'm finally back on par. Thank
Sorry.
God.
Oh, you're finally back on par? Good.
Yeah.
All
No,
right.
no, you're fine. I'm just saying, it's great because for the first couple weeks there, man, I was getting hammered. Just couldn't get everything.
Yeah, how'd you end up solving that? Did you just get used to it?
One, used to it, and two, started putting my foot down and saying no to some things.
Yeah.
I'm allowed to. I have a little stroke around here, not much, but
Well, you've earned it.
yeah.
You've earned it with good,
Now,
solid
after
hard
the
work.
show, I was going to talk to you about this tomorrow or after the show.
Right.
Mike
Talk to me.
Hawkins, Mike Hawkins is going to be doing your show starting next week.
What?
Mike Yeah, I'm not going anywhere. I'll still be here, I think, for at least.
Oh, are you talking about? Okay, yeah, you're talking
Yeah.
about as a board operator.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's good. If he wasn't, he wouldn't be doing your show.
I
I'm gonna
appreciate it.
put somebody with you I trust.
Thank you very much. It means a lot to me.
Because as long as I'm still doing Charlie at night, I gotta split my. Janet's on me about cutting my hours down because it's way too many. So
Make a little overtime. Is that what we're saying here?
I don't make any overtime.
What?
No.
You're on
Salary-
Salaraya, catfish
Salary-
pie, filet gumbo.
I have salary and management. Guess
Wow.
what ain't happening?
That's great.
Yeah. So Janet's like,
Don't you
gotta
just
trim down your
love
hours.
that? I love being in management.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
now I've got my hours down to, I think right now with everything, starting next week, it should be about 45 to 50 hours.
Right on.
It was up to 60 to 70 up to a couple weeks ago. So
My error, JD segments. You said segments. What?
I'm sorry.
No. I'm reading my. You just
I'm
going to
trying
be GM stuff? No. No, I'm on the air. No.
And if something goes down, I'll make sure we have all the resources like we did last Tuesday. So I'm not. I mean, you and I will be talking a great deal. I'm
That's
not going
great.
anywhere. I just, I got to get off this. I can really get ahead of the curve
Yep.
and cut my hours down because I'm frying bad. And that's why I'm laying off Maddox too. He's cooked.
Yeah, he is.
So, all right, here we go. Stand by.
And bye for a broadcast.
Stand by for broadcast. Fine excellence in broadcasting. I'm gonna go check out Shepherd Smith. It's hot today.
You are listening to the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. Telephone number again is 844-927-6691, 844-927-6691. You may join us as you see fit, and we'd like you to see that, please. So you can go to Facebook, go to either one of my Facebook pages. Just search John David Wells. That's JON-DAVID Wells, or The Wells Report. You'll pop up a Facebook page that has a link to the video broadcast that we're doing right now. And you can see over my right shoulder, you will see I-35 in Dallas, Texas on a rainy day. It's rainy today, and traffic, it's about 3 o'clock. It's about to get really busy over there. And I can also see 183, which is on the other side of this building. So we're keeping our eyes on the traffic, and you can do the same thing, and you can see what we're doing here in what is KBDT, the flagship of the USA Radio Network. And we're looking forward to having you around. By the way, we were talking about that gunman who was able to circumvent a whole bunch of systems put in place by people thinking that keeping weapons out of people's hands is the right idea, when in reality all they do is keep weapons out of the hands of people that can stop people who should not have weapons to begin with. This is a textbook case, of a good guy with a gun taking out a bad guy with a gun. The gunman who killed more than 24 people in a small church outside San Antonio had a string of troubling episodes. He escaped from a mental health facility in 2012. This was after he was caught sneaking guns onto an Air Force base and attempting to carry out death threats against his military superiors. He spent a year in jail. For what? Domestic abuse against his wife and stepson. These are all disqualifiers for weapon ownership, every single one of them. But the Air Force dropped the ball. Now they are the subject of not just an Air Force Inspector General inspection, but the Department of Defense has sent their Inspector General to go follow in the footsteps of the Air Force Inspector General to find out just exactly what happened here. It is useless to kick somebody out of the United States military on a bad conduct discharge if the bad conduct discharge is never recorded anywhere. This string of paperwork errors cost the lives of 26 people and the good health of at least 10 others. 10 others that were critically wounded. I mean, think about this for just a couple of minutes. Charges of animal cruelty, a conviction for beating his wife and stepson, mental health concerns, investigations for domestic assault, threats against family members, a motorcycle crash that injured him to the point where he was constantly under physical pain. And, oh, by the way, in the thrall of pain medications. Five years before the church massacre, officers were dispatched to a bus terminal after Kelly escaped from a nearby behavioral facility. Officers wrote that they told Kelly, who was serving in the Air Force, was a danger to himself and others. He was also facing military criminal charges. Nobody knows why he was in the behavioral facility to begin with. Nobody seemed to care that he escaped. Makes you think maybe this guy's last name is Clinton. But here we are, 26 dead Texans later, still waiting for the people that believe that laws are the way to fight gun violence to shut up and sit down and let the people who are sheepdogs in this nation and in this society do their jobs. This is the Wells Reports on the USA Radio Network. Stay right there.
You're clear like my back after.
Oh, goodness gracious.
Okay, so CBS to acquire CNN, according to speculation from Fox Business News, because the DOJ says if you want to merge with AT&T, you can't have CNN as part of the merger.
Oh, my God. Whoa.
Hey, I don't give Fox News much time if Disney buys out 21st Century.
What?
News Corp. No. Apparently, Disney's in talks to buy out 21st Century.
Yeah, I wonder. 21st Century Fox, I wonder.
Yeah, I don't know if News Corp falls under the 21st banner. So.
Well.
That'll be interesting.
Yep.
Yeah. Things are about to get shooken up. Or, let me put this out there. Could Ted Turner buy back CNN?
No.
Why not?
He doesn't have the money.
Not broke. He could. You're telling me Ted Turner couldn't raise that money?
No. He wouldn't raise that money based on the things he'd have to do to be able to get it. He'd have to give up too much control.
Yeah. Tell you what, though, be a great scenario. Here's some news.
Thank you, sir.
and every one of our users.
Former Yahoo CEO Marissa Mayer apologizing if you were hacked as part of that Yahoo data breach, which affected millions of people. Mayer also talked about what Yahoo did after they learned your data may be at risk.
When Yahoo learned of a state-sponsored attack on its systems in late 2014, Yahoo promptly reported it to law enforcement and notified the users.
House Democratic leader Nancy Pelosi
Yeah.
appeared at a press conference today on
I
Capitol
know.
Hill. During this press conference, she claimed that corporations would use the
I
tax
feel
savings in the GOP's tax
like
bill to send jobs overseas.
Republicans in Congress are writing a tax bill that gives tax breaks to corporate America to send jobs overseas.
Pelosi was asked at the press conference today on Capitol Hill to provide details of her allegations. She was unable to do so.
Yeah.
You're listening to USA Radio News. My name is Tim Berg.
Staples knows
Hey,
you
Tim
can't
Berg.
afford to have your business slow down over the holidays. New customers aren't delivered down your chimney. You won't find new accounts in your stocking. No, just because it's the holidays doesn't mean you can stop marketing your company. So promote your business with eye-catching print materials like presentations, brochures, postcards, and promotional products from Staples. And now save 20% off print and marketing services orders of $50 or more. Sounds like you got at least one thing on your holiday list. Staples. It's pro time. Exclusions apply. Ends 12/2/17.
Getting your flu shot at Walgreens is easier than ever. Just walk right in, and there's no cost to you with a $0 copay with most insurance. Plus, when you get a flu shot, you help provide a life-saving vaccine to a child in need through the UN Foundation. Swing by your local Walgreens anytime to get a flu shot and help make a difference. Get a shot, give a shot. It's that easy. Walgreens, at the corner of happy and healthy.
Through August 31st, 2018, for every immunization given, Walgreens will donate 22 cents up to $2 million. Vaccine restrictions apply. Talk to your pharmacist to learn more.
Tougher, more restrictive regulations on American travel to Cuba will formally be imposed this week, according to the U.S. State Department. The changes, detailed Wednesday, will negate much of former President Barack Obama's large-scale efforts to normalize diplomacy with the Caribbean island nation after more than a half-century of icy relations.
Republican senators and members of President Trump's cabinet say they are confident that the Tax Cuts and Job Act will be on his desk by Christmas. Republican Senator David Perdue from Georgia said the president called us to get to work.
President Trump has called us to action. He is moving at a business pace, not a bureaucratic pace. He wants us to pass the Senate and the House bill by Thanksgiving, have it on his desk by Christmas.
Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, on the other hand, released a statement which said middle-class Americans would see an average tax increase of about $1,350.
And starting today, for $250, Amazon Prime members can have their packages delivered inside their home. This is part of the Amazon Keep program,
Yikes.
which is happening in 37 cities from coast to coast. You're listening to USA Radio News.
Colonel Sanders from KFC here to talk about the good old days. Well, the good old days are still here in chicken form, specifically in KFC's original recipe fried chicken with 11 herbs and spices. Our delicious chicken is still hand-breaded and pressure-fried just like it was then. Get your fill with 2 pieces of my original recipe in a $5 fill-up with mashed potatoes, a biscuit, a cookie, and a drink at a KFC near you. KFC, it's still finger-licking good. At participating KFCs, prices may vary. Tax extra.
A relative of the gunman who killed 26 churchgoers on Sunday says he reached out to him on the day of the massacre.
Ugh.
USA Radio's Chris Barnes reports.
The uncle of the South Texas church shooter says he tried to communicate with him on social media hours before the attack.
He posted on Facebook that he wasn't thinking correct and his head hurt. So I private messaged him and I said, "Hey, Devin, what's up? Are you okay, bud? Here, have a shot of whiskey or something, man. Life is good." I didn't get any response from him, and then this happened.
His uncle Dave Ivey speaking there to Northwest Digital News, calling his nephew Kelly a coward.
President Trump is warning North Korea not to underestimate the United States. Senator Ed Royce said there's one way to motivate a country like North Korea.
It's not conscience that necessarily in authoritarian.
So I'm going to give you a quick headline I'm getting from It's Not a Jump Out of Your Seat headline, but GOP tax battle brewing in wake of report Senate's plan could sharply break from House bill.
Yeah, it's going to be a mess.
Yeah, Cavuto's got that right now. I actually like
Yeah, it's going to be a mess. No matter what people think, it's going to be a mess. Craziness. Stupid.
Yeah, because I would actually be greatly affected by in one of those brackets. I want this to go through.
Yeah.
Finally, Trump has done something I'm totally on board with and want. Hey, you got to start somewhere.
There you go. Okay, so let's see. Donald Trump in China.
By the way, great speech he gave last night, I thought.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sounds like it's getting to the 11th hour, though, with North Korea.
Yeah.
He's going to have no choice. He's going to have to bomb Pyongyang. He has no choice.
I don't know.
We'll see.
We'll see.
15 seconds to broadcast.
Okay.
Yeah, you have this guy who calls up every day. Is he going to be on YouTube today?
Yeah, his name is yeah, Logan. It's Logan, man. He's a good guy. North to south, coast to coast. This is the Wells Report on the USA Radio Network. 844-927-6691. The President of the United States is cruising in the Far East. He was in South Korea, gave a superb speech on North Korea. There were great moments in it. The weapons you are acquiring are not making you safer. They are putting your regime in grave danger, said Trump. That was during the National Assembly in Seoul in South Korea. Every step you take down this dark path increases the peril you face. It's very true. Iraq and North Korea seem to be vying to become the world's first suicide country. And I don't know which one of these countries is going to be successful. Half of my thoughts naturally are on North Korea. It seems to me that if North Korea were to do something to provoke a military response, that would be the best way. If one of these countries, and I'm talking about North Korea or Iran, decides to actually start throwing around nuclear weapons, there would be a test first. North Korea may indeed pick a piece of empty Pacific Ocean and send a rocket into that blissful peace and turn it into a nuclear maelstrom. He says he has a hydrogen bomb. Okay, well, maybe he does. But if indeed North Korea does see fit to test a nuclear weapon, the world's response would be immediate, if conventional. And every single military installation in the state of North Korea would be blown to pieces, probably with cruise missiles, from virtually every direction, not just from the sea, where there are 3 carrier groups from the United States hovering, waiting for Kim Jong-un to make a mistake. Not just from the sea, but from the north, from China. From the west, Russia. There would be cruise missiles blowing up every military target in North Korea, and after that was all over, a coalition of the willing would walk into that country and start liberating those people who live a nightmarish existence. The President of the United States, Donald Trump, in the middle of this speech before the South Korean National Assembly, said that North Korea is not the paradise your grandfather envisioned. It's a hell that no person deserves. It was a frank and cutting personal insult that brought the family into it, directed at a man who Trump has previously derided as Rocket Man. He avoided that term today, but he was unsparing in his description of a failed state where the majority of citizens live in misery. And while Trump similarly avoided his prior threats to rain fire and fury on North Korea should their nuclear threats persist, he was unequivocal that his vows to counter provocations with military force were still very much on the table and viable. North Korea has threatened to strike the U.S. and its allies. The president has said that would be a fatal miscalculation This is a very different administration than the U.S. has had in the past. Do not underestimate us. Do not try us. I don't know that the president would ever authorize the use of nuclear weapons. In fact, yesterday there was an article in CNN that talked about how it's quite possible that the president would authorize the use of small tactical nuclear weapons. There's no such thing. A nuclear weapon is a nuclear weapon is a nuclear weapon. If you fire those things, they might as well be the very biggest and baddest in the entire inventory. They might as well be. Because you'll pay a political price that dictates that you might well have used the big ones as well as the little ones. It's one of the reasons why the more I learned about nuclear warfare, the more I stopped worrying about it so much. Because the differences between a very, very, very large nuclear weapon and a very, very, very small nuclear weapon is largely symbolic and largely psychological. That makes these weapons all but useless. All but useless. Earlier in the day, President Trump attempted a symbolic stare down of Kim at the heavily fortified border that separates North and South Korea. Heavy fog stymied his plans. He was forced to turn back. According to his aides, he scrapped plans, or the scrapped plans, frustrated Trump, who wanted to provide symbolic heft to his warning to Pyongyang. North Korea's provocations have provided the underpinning for Trump's intensive talks in Asia. And as a matter of fact, as we speak, he is currently inside China, doubtless making a case for China to stop whatever they had to do to stop Kim Jong-un. What I meant to say was they need to do whatever they could do to stop Kim Jong-un. And not only do they need to do that, but they also need to do that without engaging in any ridiculous ideology arguments with American forces as well. We call on every nation, including China and Russia, to implement UN Security Council resolutions, downgrade diplomatic relations with the regime, and sever all ties with trade and technology. Again, the hard and savage part of that is that the people of North Korea would be the ones to suffer. The actual person whom you're trying to punish or who you're trying to punish is not going to be punished. He'll just go and get whatever he has to have to be as comfortable as he has to be. That's all. At no other point during the 13-day tour of Asia will Trump have a similar opportunity to lay out at length his plan to help secure American allies while also pursuing aggressive trade policies. There will very likely be some deliverables. I'm really looking forward to being without this cold next week. There will very likely be deliverables when it comes to doing some trade deals with China this time around. That would be very good. Access to their marketplace, chief among the things that we have to have. Their willingness to start honoring patents and copyright law. That's something we have to have. What we have is an address that drew heavily on the long history of American military support for South Korea, references to the Korean War, the Incheon landings, the Battle of Pork Chop Hill, tens of thousands of American servicemen flooding in the peninsula to counter the advance of communism on that peninsula. The United States military hit the beaches in Korea and drove the North Korean army all the way to the Yalu River. And then Red China came over that river with hundreds of thousands of troops. One by one, the legion of the Chinese army threw themselves into the American lines and pushed us all the way back across the 38th parallel. MacArthur decided to do an end around, land behind the Chinese forces in Incheon, cutting off their escape route. The classic move of warfare worked again. The Chinese had to disengage and fall back. We pushed them right back to the Yalu River. But a lot of people lost their lives. North Korea is a country ruled by a cult, said Trump. At the center of this military cult is a deranged belief in the ruler's destiny to rule as a parent protector over a conquered Korean peninsula. The more successful South Korea becomes, the more successfully you discredit the dark fantasy at the heart of the North Korean regime. Meanwhile, Pyongyang, closely watching Trump's key speech, according to North Korean officials authorized to speak to CNN on the record. The officials told CNN's Will Ripley ahead of the address that North Korea is not yet interested in the talks with the United States. Despite Trump's conciliatory tone in South Korea, U.S. officials point out that 3 American citizens are currently held in North Korean custody. According to officials in the North and the United States, diplomatic channels are still closed after Trump's fiery UN speech in September. However, North Koreans won't rule out further talks, but they still feel the need to prove their nuclear capabilities, which means more tests, according to the officials. I don't know how many more tests they're going to be able to pull off before people say, that's just too much. Sorry. We're going to take your I'm going to go play war merit badge away. You have to find something else to amuse yourself with. Bad guy. Bad guy. By the way, South Koreans really like the president. They're lining up very deep on both sides of the streets to see President Trump. More Trump supporters than protesters today. Some traveled from the other side of the country to welcome the president. The president says to North Korea, do not try us. Why does he say that? Will it be effective? Don't know. Do not know. That war never really ended between North Korea and the United States. I wonder if Chapter 2 is far away. Our telephone number again is 844-927-6691, 844-927-6691. Are you happy with your president? I'm happy with our president. I'd vote for him again. How about you? You're listening to the Wells Report on the USA Radio Network.
You're clear.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
I'll be right back.
Oh, this is
What?
interesting.
What?
Jerry Jones said to hire Weinstein's lawyer to block Goodell's contract.
Ooh, no. Don't do it, Jerry. Don't.
Oh, if he were NFL commissioner, I'd come back watching.
Stand by for broadcast. What now?
Hey, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
You know what I'd like to see on paper?
There's no telling.
I want to see Donna Brazil and Sarah Sanders mud wrestling. I'm just putting it out there. Can we make that happen? Or Jello?
Jello is not. Jello is not. No.
I'm willing to bend.
Wow.
Now you're really sick.
Dear God in heaven, no.
Where's she been lately? Where's my girlfriend Sarah Sanders? She's not been on the TV lately.
I don't have any idea.
Is she okay?
I don't know.
I'm gonna have to call the White House and find out if I need to do anything for her.
You should.
Bring her some chicken soup or something, Send me a card. Here we go. Stand by.
Standing by. You're listening to the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. Our telephone number is again 844-927-6691. Join us. Love to hear from you. Let's see. Should Trump kill off all of his political opponents? No. That's in the live chat room of the YouTube live event that I'm currently broadcasting in. You can join us and look over my right shoulder to see I-35 in Dallas. It's moving very, very well, especially for so late in the afternoon. It's 3:24 our time, Central Time in the United States. And normally that freeway behind me starts looking like a parking lot about this time. By the way, in case you in case you missed it, this radio broadcast has been taking a look at something that the Air Force came up with that I thought was a very good idea. As a matter of fact, I was very sure that this was going to fly, And I imagine it probably will at some point, but maybe not necessarily this particular time around. Congressional negotiators have rejected a House of Representatives plan to create the United States Space Corps, omitting the proposal for a new military branch under the umbrella of the Air Force from its final version of a nearly $700 billion defense policy bill called the National Defense Authorization Act. Despite support from the House Armed Services Committee, including Chairman Mac Thornberry, from Texas, by the way, the Space Corps proposal will not be included in the final NDAA for the fiscal year of 2018. The bill does contain language directing further long-term study of the issue. It's not a bad idea, but I believe it should be the United States Air Force. I think the United States Air Force simply would take care of space as well. And that's what I think should happen. The proposal, which was included in the House National Defense Authorization Act, would have set up a Space Corps in the mold of the Marine Corps, which is a separate military branch that's housed within the Navy. The authors of the idea argued that a separate and dedicated force devoted to space is needed to keep the U.S. ahead of adversaries like Russia and China in the still emerging domain of space war, arguing the Air Force is primarily devoted to fighting in the air rather than in space. Well, that's not really true. If it's above the ground, it belongs to the Air Force, even if there's no air up there. Representative Mike Rogers, the Strategic Forces Subcommittee chairman who proposed the idea, has argued the Air Force was prioritizing its fighter jets over space. A dedicated service was needed to stay ahead of China and Russia in what many people see as the next frontier of warfare. Well, it's been that way for years. I mean, back in the 60s, the United States had real-time spy satellites up there. My dad was in the middle of that particular war. And in the middle of that particular war is one of the reasons why he gave us a pretty good living. Did some amazing work. Was indeed a Cold Warrior. So way back in the 60s, the real planetary fight was going to be in space. Defense Secretary James Mattis took the rare step of writing a letter supporting an amendment to remove the Space Corps from the House's version of the policy earlier this year. It's unusual for us to write on an issue like that, Mattis told reporters in July. I don't want to say any more right now. I'll leave that to Congress. I made it known what I think, and now we'll leave it to Congress in their legislative role. We will, however, see at some point a United States military branch that does indeed take care of space. I think the uniforms would be cool. Jet black with bright silver adornments. Look like stars on a black field of uniform. By the way, the Space Corps was left out of the fiscal year 2018 NDAA, which authorized a total of $692.1 billion in discretionary budget authority, approximately $626.4 billion in base budget authority, and roughly $65.7 billion for overseas contingency operations. The measure would fully authorize a pay increase for service members, increase missile defense, and add additional ships and aircraft. However, the bill would also set defense spending well above the $549 billion cap under the Budget Control Act. And the Senate Democrats have vowed to block major increases to defense spending without equal increases in domestic programs. Those domestic programs that hundreds of billions of dollars are spent on and nobody knows what's going on with them, are those the ones they're talking about? You know what? I believe they are. You're listening to the Wells Report on the USA Radio Network. Back with more in just a moment. Oh my God, there are 14 people watching now.
Oh boy.
14 people.
On Wells Purview.
On Wells Purview.
You remember the day when they
Wells Purview. What?
Remember on the day when they would watch your show on closed circuit TV?
Yes. That's what they're doing right now.
Yeah, but no, they're watching on Wells Purview.
Wells Purview.
Back then it was closed circuit
Sure.
Wells TV.
Yeah, exactly. Wells Purview.
On Wells-O-Vision.
Wells-O-Vision.
Oh, you're there. Okay, I thought I lost you.
No, I'm here. Ron doing news?
Not yet.
Okay.
Let me see.
Corporate America to send jobs overseas.
Pelosi was asked at the press conference today on Capitol
Nope.
Hill to provide details.
Oh, that's Timmy too monotone.
Stop it. He's doing fine.
I know he is.
Golly.
A cure for polio and cancer. In other news.
Would you excuse me a moment? I'll be right
All
back.
right, man, I'm sorry.
No.
right.
That's perfectly fine. I'll be right back.
Here on Wells Purview. Oh, that is cool. Oh. Sunday on Wells Purview. Oh yeah, I can see the merchandising possibilities now. Now that you're on Wells Purview.
I'm back now.
Okay.
I'm back now, everybody.
So Toys R Us just called me.
Mm.
They're going to carry the limited edition John David Wells radio action figures.
Yeah. Right.
The David Maddox action figures are back. I'm so tired. I got to go and take a nap. I'm getting really loopy.
Well, I'm actually feeling a little better, but I don't know why.
Yeah, you like the Wells Purview idea.
Well, I don't know. I think it's probably that I took a couple of tabs of Excedrin before I went on the air, but it's been an hour and a half.
That does help because there's a little caffeine in it.
Yeah, but I'm trying to figure out why it would take over an hour for it to
If you
show
ate
up.
before you took it. So,
You
here we
know.
go.
You are listening to the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. It was a scandal. It was terrible. It was awful. It made us all hang our heads and feel pretty shamed, actually. It happened months ago, September, in fact. A racist message was posted outside an Air Force Academy dorm room. It said it was a racial slur. It was horrifying. It was terrible. It was discovered outside the room of 5 black students in an Air Force Academy dormitory in Colorado Springs, Colorado. In a written statement, we can confirm, the written statement from the Air Force Academy said we can confirm that indeed they had found the perpetrator of such horrifying racism. They wrote a statement yesterday that said this, quote, "We can confirm that one of the cadet candidates who was allegedly targeted by racist remarks written outside of their dorm room was actually responsible for the act. The individual admitted responsibility, and this was validated by the investigation." So, in other words, a racist message targeting 5 African American members of the Air Force Academy was written by one of those targeted 5 African Americans. From what we understand, that student is no longer with the Air Force Academy, as you might expect. What I'm trying to figure out is this. I'm trying to figure out whether or not somebody who is African American, who writes a racist screed of some kind that is anti-African American, is that person just as guilty of racism as, say, someone from a different race might be under the same circumstances? An African American who writes horrifying racial content focused against other African Americans, say, for example, at the Air Force Academy, or any place for that matter, should they suffer the same punishment as if somebody else from a different race had done that level of bigotry? In my particular case, I say absolutely yes. But what is so very strange, about all of this is, and this became absolute fact toward the end of 2016, mainly due to the Black Lives Matter movement. The only people that can be racist in the United States are whites. But apparently that's not the case, or is it? What would it take? And I'm hoping that someone from the African American community would join me and tell me just exactly what would be the motivation. Why would someone in the African American community write something so blatantly racist against that community? Why would they write something so racist against themselves? Why? Can you answer that question for me? 844-927-6691. 844-927-6691. As we have continued our lives in the United States, because of the political imperative, because of the political knowledge that playing one racial group off of another racial group was very, very effective for political reasons, you could actually use racism as a lever, mainly in leftist politics. But remember, one of the greatest uses of race was the Southern strategy used by the Nixon administration in their particular run through the South in 1967, when President Nixon was trying to take the White House away from LBJ. I have long said that as soon as they invent the time machine, the one that goes back into the past, I was going to do whatever I had to do to get a hold of that machine, travel back to the time of the very first racist, and shoot him in the head. Because never in the history of the human condition have more people lost their lives based on the primitive notions of packaging before actual contents. Physical attributes in place of someone's character, the contents of one's character, as Martin used to say. The announcement that indeed one of the cadets at the Air Force Academy, an African American, had written this anti-American, anti-African American screed jarred the entire academy, as you might expect. Lieutenant General Jay Silveria, the commandant of the school, stood up in front of the assembled cadets of the Air Force Academy and delivered a stern message warning students that racists were not welcome at the school. There were 1 million hits on YouTube from people looking at that speech. 1 million hits. In his remarks, Silveria forced 4,000 cadets to stand at attention shortly after the slurs were reported. Reach for your phones. I'm serious. Reach for your phones. Grab your phones. I want you to videotape this so that you have it, so that you can use it, so that we all have the moral courage together. We would be tone deaf not to think about the backdrop about what is going on in our country, Silveria told the cadets, referencing the most recent violence in Charlottesville, Virginia, Ferguson, Missouri, the controversial protests in the NFL, in which dozens of players knelt during the national anthem. If you cannot treat somebody with dignity and respect at the Air Force Academy, get out. A diverse array of political figures, Senator John McCain, former Vice President Joe Biden, all were part of the coverage of the event. Media outlets such as the Washington Post, Axios, the New York Times played the coverage of Silveria's 5-minute speech praising the Academy superintendent. The Washington Post ran an opinion piece titled, "Too Bad Trump Can't Emulate the Military When It Comes to Matters of Race." The piece compared Silveria's response to the slur to Trump's response to the events in Charlottesville when a woman protesting white supremacism was killed. Lieutenant General Jay Silveria did naturally what Trump is incapable of doing. This according to this piece in the Washington Post. The Air Force Academy superintendent answered all the hate in his ranks immediately, head on, with a moral clarity non-existent in the Oval Office. The only thing about it is that nobody understood that the racism that he was referencing was African American on African American. But then, as I was thinking about this for broadcast today, I realized that none of that mattered. It doesn't make any difference who practices racism against somebody else. The only thing that you can think of is, okay, well, what's the motivation? And I've asked that question. What is the motivation for somebody who is African American to cast racial aspersions and slurs against fellow African Americans? I don't understand that. Is it an attention-getting device? What is it? 844-927-6691 if you want to answer. But it doesn't make any difference who is casting the racist card. against someone else. It makes no difference. Therein lies the equality. It's so ironic. It's actually visceral. That at the end of all of it, that someone from a particular racial background would cast aspersions against his own racial background. That someone would actually think of, well, now wait a minute. Well, there's nothing wrong with that. Yes, there is. Yes, there is. There is something wrong with it. It is exactly the racism that African American community has been complaining about against the white community and any other community that might be guilty of it for years, decades, centuries. And just because you're black doesn't make you any less of a bigot if you're taking shots at other black people. This issue is the most destructive thing I've ever seen. Because it's not just white people against black people. It's not just yellow people against brown people. Just any combination. It's not just that. It's religious too. The absolute blood enemy of one of the world's great religions is anyone who is a member of another of the world's great religions. And that has been going on for thousands of years. And that is so entrenched that it's become a part of life. But that particular form of racism could bring the entire world to the brink of nuclear annihilation. Because as time has gone by, both of these groups have attained nuclear weapons, or at least are on the verge of attaining nuclear weapons. Back in the bad old days of the Cold War, we expected the Russians to take shots at the Americans and vice versa, and that's how World War III was going to start. But that's not the case. No, it seems as though that as we move through this first few decades of the new millennium, that it will be a religious war after all. At least that's the way the lines of force are laid on the desert floor now. But what is it based on? It's based on good old-fashioned, completely primitive, pathological, absurdist racism. Was he talking about anti-Semitism? Because that's different, isn't it? No, it's not. No, it's not. It's just plain good old-fashioned anti-Jewish bigotry, and it's rife across this planet. And it's embarrassing to the human condition. And so we find that the source of racism at the Air Force Academy is somewhat different than what we thought. But it didn't invalidate anything that was said by the commandant at all. This is the Wells Report on the USA Radio Network.
You're out.
Why, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. I'll be right back.
Okay. I'll miss you already, Johnny. Yeah, that's why I want to go home. I want to go home and play my hockey game. It's one of the more fun games I've had in a long time, Mike. NHL 18. I love hockey, but man, they did everything right on this game.
I got you. Alrighty then.
Hey, it's Rusty.
Hi, Rust.
How you doing?
I'm doing fine, Rusty. How you doing, buddy?
Hey,
Long time no hear from.
yeah, I know. Well, they don't allow us to use our cell phones at Taco Bell.
Oh man, stop it.
Yeah,
Come on, you got to stop it.
No,
You got to stop it.
I like to swim in jacuzzis filled with mayonnaise.
God.
Stand by.
You're listening to the Wells Report. Telephone number is 844-927-6691, 844-927-6691. When will we finally put all this stuff down? What I am noticing is that the politics of division and hatred are finally being recognized in this nation. Finally, people are beginning to realize that there's a political party out there that believes that stock in trade can only be attained by splitting us into various fragments and playing one of these fragments against the other. This level of malfeasance, if you will, is damaging to this nation. And frankly, should be relegated to the past as quickly as humanly possible. We have throughout the years grown farther and farther apart. And that is based on the cynicism of those who have been calling the shots in this political party that, for whatever reason, believes that a population with its members at each other's throats is the kind of populace they would like to govern. Whenever you see things in this nation, whether they are political or otherwise, if you ever see something that splits us apart, point it out. Rally around those things in this nation that hold us together. Don't allow somebody to, say, for example, say our nation is somehow lacking for strength or for riches or for goodness. Don't let them say that to us. More importantly, don't let them portray it, and don't let them actually try to live a life that profits from it. Stop them. This is not something you're going to do, especially for political effect. The only way that you can stop a political party from trading on the politics of division is to stop electing them to office. I know how difficult it would be. If I was a member of, say, for example, a badly malfunctioning political party, and I am not, insofar as I have walked away from it because, I'm sorry, I'm not interested in people who say they are one thing when they're actually something else. I believe in honesty, especially where politics and public service are involved. All I can say is this. Were I a member of that, I would find it very difficult to say, for example, abandon that party that I had spent so much time doing. It took me a lot to walk away from the Republican Party to become what is arguably an independent conservative. But I just realized that that particular party was not honest and was not straightforward and would never be as long as it was continuing to be successful. That's why I believe that the elections of last night are so unfortunate for the Democrat Party, because I believe that they were indeed making progress, but now these vapid, cynical, anti-American Democrats got a small respite from the realities of their bad planning. We'll see what happens next. This is the Wells Report.
You're clear. Clear.
Anytime to get a flu shot and help make a difference. Get a shot, give a shot. It's that easy. Walgreens, at the corner of happy and healthy.
Through August 31st, 2018, for every immunization given, Walgreens will donate 22 cents up to $2 million. Vaccine restrictions apply. Talk to your pharmacist to learn more.
Hi, you laugh? Yes! Medicare is such a maze! United Healthcare can help. Is that why you're driving this bulldozer? Hop in! Choosing a plan doesn't have to be complicated. United Healthcare has the people, tools, and plans to get you through it, including the only Medicare plans with the AARP name.
That was easy.
Need to find a Medicare plan? Get help now at uhcmedicare.com. AARP Medicare plans from United Healthcare. United Healthcare pays royalty fees to AARP. AARP is not an insurer.
USA Radio News with Ron Taylor.
Yesterday, winning almost 2/3 of the vote sends a clear message that New Yorkers want more change.
New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio says he has a clear mandate to continue his progressive agenda. He vowed to focus on education reform, improving affordable housing stock, and pushing for a millionaire's tax. De Blasio said he was honored to be the first Democrat re-elected as mayor since the late Ed Koch. Vice President Pence is now in South Texas to meet with survivors of the deadly mass shooting at a Baptist church on Sunday. Pence, along with his wife Karen, arrived in San Antonio this afternoon to visit with the families and victims of the attack that left 26 people dead and 20 others wounded in Sutherland Springs. An Air Force Academy cadet thought to have been the target of racist threats is now admitting his role in the incident. The unidentified student was one of 5 African-American cadet candidates attending the Academy's prep school in Colorado Springs after racist notes were found written on dry erase boards outside their rooms in September. The superintendent of the Air Force Academy denounced the slurs in a stern lecture that went viral. You're listening to USA Radio News.
So, are you starting to think about the perfect gift? Well, I found the perfect gift idea that checks all the boxes. Price, value, easy, and awesome. No kidding. If I got this, I'd faint. It's the Ovation Hair Holiday Gift Set. 7 best-selling hair products in one gorgeous gift box. You'll love the powerful cell therapy treatment, proven to give you thicker, stronger, longer, healthier hair. Intensive repair hair mask to deeply hydrate and revitalize dry, damaged hair. The Luxe shampoo for a luxurious, foaming deep shine. And your choice of shampoo and conditioner. Everything you need and I love for amazing, vibrant, healthy hair. Guaranteed. And specially priced to save you almost 60%. Works for me. No wonder it sells out every year. Get this for every single friend and family member on your list. Go to ovationhair.com and get a new customer discount on top of the nearly 60% savings when you select USA Radio at checkout. Ovationhair.com.
A Virginia woman who was fired from her job after a photo of her giving a middle finger to President Trump's motorcade went viral is speaking out.
It was a spur-of-the-moment decision. Lots of things were going through my mind about how disappointed I am with this administration. I didn't really have any other way to express my opinion to Mr. Trump, and so this
photo was taken by a journalist traveling with the president near his golf course in Sterling, Virginia. Briskin was cycling by herself when the presidential motorcade pulled up beside her, and she gave the president the gesture. When Briskin's employer, Akima LLC, which oversees government contracts, was made aware of the photo, she was fired. The company cited, quote, obscene content on her social media accounts as the reason for her dismissal, adding that the photo could hurt business. Amazon packages can be delivered inside of your home as of today. Amazon Key is a special service available to Prime members in 37 cities, coast to coast. It's part of an effort to cut down on package theft. There is an upfront cost of $250 to get a key in-home kit. You're listening to USA Radio News.
Get the best night's sleep of your life with a MyPillow. Go to MyPillow.com, enter promo code USA, and you'll get 50% off 2 MyPillow premium pillows and 2 Go Anywhere pillows. MyPillow.com, promo code USA, or call 1-800-951-8175. 100% machine washable, 10-year warranty, 60-day money-back guarantee. How can you lose? Go to MyPillow.com, promo code USA.
2 recently rescued American women are literally thanking God for their survival. USA Radio's Chris Barnes has their unique story.
2 sailors who were lost at sea for 5 months admit they never activated the emergency locator beacon aboard their sailboat. Jennifer Appel telling NBC's Today Show that they relied on faith and not technology to get them through their ordeal.
In the location where we were, it's probably 4 hours to a day before the Coast Guard would have found us on a flyover. So we took our chances with the man upstairs who gave us grace and allowed us to still be here today.
Appel says she and Tasha Fuyava never turned on that beacon because they never felt truly in distress and didn't think their situation was dire enough. For USA Radio News, I'm Chris Barnes.
Bank shares are taking a nosedive during trading today as fears of Republican election losses Tuesday could hinder attempts to reform the U.S. tax code. Democrats won the governorships of Virginia and New Jersey, as well as the legislative seats in many states, increasing the uneasiness around the ability to get GOP tax reform efforts approved. Overall, trading today was slightly higher. The Dow Jones Industrial Average gained 7 points to finish at 23,564. The S&P 500 gained 4 points to finish at 2594. And the NASDAQ vaulted 21 points to 6789. Recapping our top story, Mayor Bill de Blasio is out in New York City today thanking his supporters after winning a second consecutive term. Online at usaradio.com, I'm Ron Taylor, and this is USA Radio News.
And you're 50 seconds out. Hello, my kitten. My kitten, are you there, my kitten?
I can hear you.
Purr for me, my kitten.
Purr for me, my kitten.
Did you like that last segment?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. I'm telling you, they're already erecting multiple statues of you outside of the USA Radio towers.
Oh, there are not.
Yes.
There are not.
See, I can look down because I'm on the 98th floor of the USA corporate towers. and I went down with the fountain, the Fred Whiteman Memorial Fountain.
God, it's so good.
And they have 2 marble statues of you on each side of the fountain.
Sure
and
they
an
do.
eternal flame.
North to south, coast to coast. This is the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells on a rainy day in Dallas, Texas. We hope that your weather is better than what we're experiencing, but it's kind of nice. We've needed some rain here for a while. Traffic beginning to stack up as people head on home for family dinner and all the things that make America great. If you're listening to the Dallas flagship of the USA Radio Network, KBDT, thank you very much for doing so. As you drive by 183, you see that big white building right there at the corner of 183 and 35, I-35. I'm waving at you from the 10th floor right now. Flash your lights. Just flash your lights to high beam and low beam. Just right this minute, and I'll see you. Actually, a couple of people did it. What do you know?
Honk your horn.
They did it. It is a corner. Wait a minute. Joining us right now to bring us up to date on exactly what the physical layout of our current building is the man behind the scenes here at KBDT.
It's not a corner.
What is
it's
it?
Between the 183 and the Stemmons.
Yeah.
And it's on Mockingbird Lane.
It is on Mockingbird Lane, but that's
Go
kind of
there.
Well, it's kind of like a.
That's the Wells Report.
See, he's mocking me now. Thank you, Fred.
I mock well. I'm out of here.
All right, buddy. Take good care. Have a good day. I was made a fool of. Oh, stop laughing. Lock that, will you? Yeah, stupid is as stupid does. Thank you very much, Fred. Have a great one. Take care, buddy. Love you. Mean it. I was made a fool of a while back. And I felt really done in. And I felt like I'd let you down because I had been, what's the word? I had been misled, not purposefully by the people that I'd spoken with, but I had been misled by the persona of someone that I truly admired. And in that being let down, it led to me being let down by somebody else I truly admired. Not from a standpoint of, I didn't know these people personally. I knew them by reputation. I knew them by the company they kept. Some of the greatest people I know, the greatest human beings I know, are special agents with the FBI. You will never find more patriotic people, people who care about this country, people who care about our laws, people who care about their fellow citizens more than the typical special agent for the FBI. They're just special people. And the people that work their way through all of the things you have to work your way through in the FBI to make it to the very highest rungs of management are the very best of the best. At least that's what I thought. I remember when James Comey was nominated to take over for Robert Mueller. I had heard nothing but great things about James Comey. But then I never heard anything bad about Robert Mueller either. I think they both did their jobs brilliantly. I didn't have any problems with any of them, but that would change. I remember when James Comey was taking charge of this investigation into the illicit rogue server of Hillary Clinton. And based on everything that I had known about James Comey, all the people that I had talked to, all the FBI agents that are friends of mine that said that James Comey was truly the best, I said, well, we're finally going to get the truth about this. And we didn't. I remember when James Comey stood up at a podium somewhere in some FBI office someplace, started discussing the investigation of the FBI on Hillary Clinton's server, saying one thing after another, leading inexorably to what was going to be, which is why I recommend this day that the Department of Justice turn this case over to a federal grand jury for their deliberations. And then he said, nothing. No prosecutor would go after a case like this. I was stunned. I was absolutely stunned. And then time went by, and a few weeks later, he said he was reopening the investigation based on new information, that there had been other emails found. And I said, surely he had had second thoughts. I know for a fact that there were people in Washington, D.C., in the FBI office, in their headquarters, that were openly contemptuous of James Comey. And were as ashamed of this man and his actions, more so because they felt it more keenly, than I did as a fan. And then that fell through. And then the more I found out about the case, the worse it got. The more I realized that we had destroyed the presidency of Richard Nixon based on an 18.5-minute gap on a tape. And we came within an eyelash of electing a woman who had just gotten rid of 33,000 emails. Some of them likely very incriminating. Coming from a server that should have never been ever fired up or booted up, in a place that was outside normal security, where she had actually engaged her own aides in saying, strip the government classification from these documents and send them in the clear. And yet she was not ever charged with any of these incredible crimes, some of which violated the Espionage Act, all because James Comey stood in the way. Did it cost him his job? Yes, it did. Will it cost him his freedom? I don't know. But today, there is journalism out there, this by Greg Jarrett of Fox News, that says former FBI Director James Comey's explanation for not prosecuting Hillary Clinton has always seemed improbable, but now it may be impossible. The Espionage Act makes it a crime to mishandle classified documents, quote, through gross negligence, unquote. That is the statute's language. Punishment upon conviction carries a penalty of up to 10 years in prison. There is no room for intent in this particular part of the Espionage Act, that being Section F, as in Foxtrot. When all was said and done, 110 emails were found on Clinton's private server that were classified at the time they were sent or received. For that, the Democrat nominee for the presidency of the United States in 2016 could have been prosecuted on 110 separate counts of violation of the Espionage Act. But James Comey said that this was extremely careless handling of this classified material. That's what he said in public. Unfortunately, John Solomon, writing for The Hill, discovered a document that showed that then FBI Director James Comey authored a statement accusing Clinton of mishandling classified documents and being grossly negligent. The document was confirmed by Senator Charles Grassley of Iowa, who's chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee. It was written a full 2 months before Clinton was ever interviewed by the FBI. 2 months. Sometime later, the words gross negligence were edited out with red lines. The words extremely careless were substituted. The problem with it is that when you identify the meaning of the words gross negligence, you find the words extremely careless. This would appear to show that Comey knew Clinton violated the law, but subsequently resolved to conjure a way to exonerate her by altering his language. As I just mentioned, the terms are synonymous according to the law. Many standard jury instructions, such as those in California and elsewhere, say the two terms mean the same thing. That is, gross negligence is an extreme departure from ordinary care. In other words, extremely careless behavior. Either Comey was not well versed in the law, or he sought to draw a fine distinction where none existed. But he then employed this as an excuse to protect Clinton from prosecution in a case that should have gone before a grand jury, at least, and probably should have gone to a jury in a courtroom trying her for 110 counts of violations of the Espionage Act. It is without doubt one of the great miscarriages of justice by the FBI.
You know, your cue just spiked up 4 times.
Why?
You had the man on.
Oh, yes, I know.
Yeah, I mean, when he was like, listen, let me tell you. Go ahead and cough up the one.
Would you do me a favor?
Mhm.
Would you run the music just a little hotter, buddy?
Hold on. I hear you, and I'll do that.
Thank you.
That was me. I know what I did there.
Yeah.
So,
It's been that way pretty much all day.
okay, well, I'm trying to make it sound good for the the network and the affiliates, but okay. Okay. So anyway, when you had radio's answer to the Midas touch on,
yes,
all of a sudden when you cracked that mic open, Postcards were coming in from Ecuador. Do you realize that? Yeah.
You know what I want more than anything else?
For me to leave you alone?
No, that has nothing to do with any of it. No. No, I just want people to enjoy the broadcast. I hope they get something out of it.
You know what? Your show is like a piñata. You keep beating it and beating it and beating it until you get something sweet and delicious. Yeah.
Angel Wings is Canadian, I take it. Angel Wings, are you Canadian? I'm watching this on the live chat. You really should go to yes, Canada is a different country, Logan. You're exactly
American
right.
Suburb.
And actually, Quebec is a different country inside Canada.
No, it's not. They lost the referendum.
Yeah, sure they did. Yeah, lost the referendum.
And their hockey team
And they're not
left.
happy about it either.
Hey, and their hockey team left.
The
for,
hockey
Colorado.
player.
Their hockey team left for Colorado, and Vegas beat them out for an expansion team. How do you not get a hockey team and lose to a team in the desert?
I don't
How does that
know.
happen?
I don't know.
Although I do like their ketchup flavored potato chips. I got that going for them.
Oh.
Hey, I was going to actually. It's funny you say Canada because I was going to ask you when you lived in Detroit, or as we called it, America's answer to Vietnam. Did you ever go to the old fish market over in Windsor?
Huh? What? Oh no, I didn't actually.
No, it was actually a really.
Let's see. Hold on a second. Angel Wings. I'm up here in the ice and snow where it's raining cats and dogs, eh? Let's see. We do like those in Providence. Province. I was born in Quebec. I now live in BC. That's British Columbia for those people that don't know.
I thought it was just because.
Logan spent time in BC. Kelowna. Yeah. I spent time not in BC. Well, actually, I did spend a little bit of time in BC in Vancouver.
Hey, I used to watch Hockey Night in Canada.
Hockey Night in Canada was great, man.
Who Don Cherry? Oh, yeah.
Oh, Don Cherry, man. He was so good.
You don't know who Don Cherry
Of course I know who Don Cherry
What's
is.
his nickname?
I don't know what his nickname is, but boy, but his suits.
Okay.
Holy
Good
Christ.
Good enough. You got it. Okay.
I mean, it was like, dude, where do you find those clothes?
Stevie Wonder's closet.
Then the phone rang.
Yeah. I know the cue. Mr. Dress Up.
Okay. Let's
No,
see.
he was a kid's show in Canada.
Don Cherry?
No, Mr. Dress Up.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Okay. All right. Here we go. You are listening to the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. Our telephone number is 844-927-6691. James Comey saved Hillary Clinton from being at least considered for an indictment by a federal grand jury. I don't know what's going to happen next, but what I do know is this. The first time he testified about all this, he testified under oath. Now he's going to have to go back and explain why it was that he wrote the words grossly negligent in his original draft of a statement that he was going to change to extreme carelessness. He's going to testify under oath to explain why he would write a statement of exoneration well before all the facts were known, and why he would change the language to clear Clinton in the face of incriminating evidence that she mishandled classified material through gross negligence. Rudy Giuliani, former New York mayor, former Attorney General of the United States, said that there were 16 charges that could be filed against Hillary Clinton based on the server mess alone. How come none of them were? What's going to happen if James Comey is found to have perjured himself? It looks to me like the fix was in. What was the reward? At this particular moment, all we have is a man with a very serious problem running the FBI of the United States, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, with zero moral compass. But what else happened? Did Comey absolve Clinton for political reasons? Was he pressured to do so by Attorney General Loretta Lynch? Why did he take it upon himself to usurp the authority of the Justice Department in clearing Clinton? That was purely political. He did that because he didn't want Loretta Lynch to have to do that job. Why? If Comey prevented the prosecution of Clinton, even though there was sufficient and compelling evidence to indict her, then such interference or intervention in the due administration of the law would constitute obstruction of justice by James Comey. A man who is charged with the enforcement of law for the sake of justice, would then be found in some way, shape, or form obstructing that justice? Is that truly where we find ourselves today? And if that wasn't enough, there is another morsel of agony for all of us. In that now Robert Mueller is involved in yet another politically motivated stunt to try to damage the political fortunes of one President Donald Trump. The swamp fighting back to save itself from the reality the American people did so well to impose on it. Once again, I want to give credit where credit is due. Greg Jarrett wrote this piece. He says that it's not just constituting obstruction of justice by James Comey, former director of the FBI. Comey blatantly misinterpreted another criminal statute, also under the Espionage Act, which Clinton appeared to have violated. 18 U.S. Code 978, it's a crime to knowingly and willfully mishandle classified information, yet in his infamous news conference, Comey declared that Clinton never intended to violate laws governing the handling of classified information. Comey was wrong. That's not a legal standard. The standard is whether Clinton committed intentional acts that violated the law. She intended to set up a private server. She intended to use that private server. She intended to use it exclusively for her communications as Secretary of State, which would necessarily include classified documentation. By her own admission, she deliberately created this mess. Here's more to this story. Thank you, Greg Jarrett, for such great work. Back with more in just a moment.
You're clear.
Oh, God. Man. I feel terrible. I feel horrible. Rotten in fact. Oh, man. Goodness sakes. Oh, man. Oh, man. All right. Okay.
No, I just burned a whole bunch of calories laughing my butt off.
Why?
You ready?
Sure.
Oh, come on. Have a little fun.
I am having a little fun.
Yeah. All right.
Yes.
Here we go.
Yeah.
All right.
You are listening to the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. This is a superb piece of journalism. You should go and read it for yourself. Greg Jarrett. Did Comey obstruct justice by protecting Hillary Clinton from prosecution? Yes. Yes, in my concerted opinion, he did. I don't know whether or not the Department of Justice has got the leadership necessary to be able to run these people to earth. I wish it did. I wish I didn't have to sit here behind this microphone and cast aspersions on Jeff Sessions, who is a very, very good man, but maybe too much politician and not enough prosecutor. By Hillary Clinton's own admission, she deliberately created her personal and unauthorized server for the sake of convenience. She never set up a government email address for any other communications, as the FBI confirmed. These are intentional acts that place classified material in an unauthorized and vulnerable location. There was no excuse for it. There was a SCIF, a secured classified information facility, in her own house. But that's not where this server was. Even if we accept Comey's tortured interpretation that a person must intend to violate the law, the evidence is conclusive that Clinton knew she was committing crimes On January 22nd, 2009, she signed a document titled Classified Information Non-Disclosure Agreement, which states in very plain language, quote, I have been advised that the unauthorized disclosure, unauthorized retention, or negligent handling of classified information by me could cause damage and irreparable injury to the United States or could be used to advantage by a foreign nation. I've been advised that any unauthorized disclosure of classified information by me may constitute a violation or violations of U.S. criminal law. Unquote. A second document signed by Clinton that same day acknowledged she had received a comprehensive security briefing that instructed her on all the applicable laws involving sensitive information and classified materials and how they must be kept secure. Clinton can hardly claim amnesia as a defense since she sent an order to all State Department employees 2 years later, June 28, 2011, cautioning them not to do what she was doing in violating the law. She stated in her order, avoid conducting official department business from your personal email accounts. Does this woman, Hillary Clinton, have brass? You tell me. Congress issued a subpoena March 4th of 2015, instructing her to preserve and produce emails. 3 weeks later, on March 25th, 33,000 emails were missing. To this day, we do not know how many of those communications were relevant to the subpoena since they vanished. Little did we realize that the server was wiped clean by using a file-deleting software program called BleachBit. But apparently the FBI is baffled by BleachBit. So that was a congressional subpoena that was completely defied by Hillary Clinton. Audacious? Yeah. More criminal in my view. Destruction of records in any federal investigation constitutes obstruction of justice and violation of the Federal Records Act and the Public Officers Law. While the FBI did manage to recover several thousand of the deleted emails that were work-related and thereby required to be produced, no charges against Clinton were ever brought by Comey. In his July statement, he somehow divined that they were not intentionally deleted in an effort to conceal them. Remember, this was 2 months before they had known anything about what Hillary had or had not done. There's little doubt Hillary Clinton flagrantly and shamelessly ignored the law. A special counsel must be appointed to reopen the Clinton email case, but also to investigate her role in what appears to be a corrupt pay-to-play scheme, selling 20% of America's uranium assets to Russia, certainly not directly. Payments to Russian agents by Clinton campaign to obtain salacious fusion GPS dossiers on Donald Trump, and the rigging of the Democrat nomination process in Clinton's race against Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders. The scope of the special counsel's probe must also include the inexplicable and indefensible. Take two. The scope of the special counsel's probe must also include the inexplicable and indefensible decisions Comey made in exonerating Clinton in the email scandal and whether Loretta Lynch influenced the outcome. It has been more than 3 months since the Republicans on the House Judiciary Committee sent a letter to Attorney General Jeff Sessions demanding the special counsel be named. More recently, Senator Lindsey Graham, the Republican of South Carolina, reiterated the appeal. Any delay of justice is injustice. Those who abuse and subvert the law must be always held accountable. Again, absolute first-rate journalism by Greg Jarrett of Fox News. I sat behind a microphone on this, very much like this one, and testified to the integrity of James Comey. Personally, I was disappointed. Professionally, I was flat wrong. And what's the price of all of this? How many FBI directors will be named? How many years down the road must we go? How much water must flow under the bridge in the Potomac before we, the people of the United States, can trust the director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation? However long that is but a scant, pale pencil sketch of the true damage done to the FBI by James Comey. The collateral damage done to not just Comey's reputation, but now the reputation of Robert Mueller and all the decisions he made while he was director of the FBI. All of these decisions, all of these moves now cast into doubt because of politics. Donna Brazile has written a book in which she is kicking open much of the things that many of us, as we reported the stories in the 2016 presidential election, she is kicking open the stories that we both reported on and surmised about in 2016. Her book detailing the turmoil of the Democrat Party during the 2016 campaign is now being looked at because Clinton was seriously ill and might be needed, and there was a concern that she might be replaced by Joe Biden or even Bernie Sanders. And then people say, well, what's the big deal? There's no news here because it was all well known. She was covered by the big time national newspapers and networks, right? Wrong. If Brazile was rehashing those things we already knew, there'd be no book. There would be no bombshells. There would be no headlines, but there certainly are. Brazile's book is a revelation in that it shows many left-leaning journalists just didn't care much to cover Clinton from a standpoint of truth. How is it possible the leader of the Democrat Party was talking to colleagues about trying to replace its nominee during the general election because of health concerns, and none of the thousands of journalists covering the campaign ever heard about it? It's not possible, by the way, if the media had been playing it right down the middle and holding both candidates to the same standard of scrutiny. We would have all known just exactly what that piece of metal was that fell out from underneath Hillary Clinton's dress when she staggered to her van. Her campaign has always denied there was anything wrong. Allergies. The candidates and her flacks insisted because of caused the persistent coughs. The major news organizations mostly nodded their heads and stayed mum. On Labor Day, an NBC reporter filed a 91-word, 4-paragraph story that said Clinton had been able to finish her speech in Ohio because of a coughing fit. The truth was dangerous. So the Praetorian Guard sprang into Clinton's defense. The NBC reporter, Andrew Rafferty, was mocked and insulted, first by the campaign, then by other journalists, including some MSNBC commentators who turned on their colleague as if he had violated a secret oath. Clinton joined the Clinton Amen Chorus. CNN joined the Clinton Amen Chorus. And the Washington Post political writer Chris Cillizza denounced the topic of Clinton's health as a totally ridiculous issue and declared it a surefire loser for Trump. It's hard to plausibly insist, based on the available data, that Clinton is ill, said Cillizza. 5 days later, Clinton was unable to walk on her own, collapsed at the 9/11 ceremony in Manhattan when she tried to get into a van. The campaign insisted later that she was just dehydrated until a short video of the incident aired, and then admitted the candidate had been diagnosed with pneumonia days earlier. In other words, the claim of allergies was a big fat lie. That prompted Brazil to contemplate starting the process of replacing Clinton, writing in her book the campaign was also anemic and had the odor of failure. She says that she considered numerous tickets to replace Clinton and Senator Tim Kaine and decided that Biden and Senator Cory Booker would be the best. It's not clear how long she deliberated or how many people she talked to, but Brazil writes that Biden called her on September 12th. In the end, she says she made no move because she couldn't disappoint Clinton's supporters. By the way, her book is called Hacks, the inside story of the break-ins and breakdowns that put Donald Trump in the White House. It's got lots of other juicy bits, including evidence that the party rigged the primaries to help Clinton beat Sanders and that Clinton probably broke federal campaign finance laws by scooping money donated to big donors in state parties. This money far in excess of the individual federal limits. It just gets worse every second. Every single second that goes by that we find out more about the Clintons and how they do business. Compromising an entire political party, not just the Democrat Party, but remaking it in a progressive mold to create for anybody to see for any and all persons and any and all reasons. That the end justifies the means. That it's only illegal if you get caught. And if the network news actually does its job and reports the truth. But again, that's not what we get. It's not what we have. It's not what we know. We get the orts and the leavings. The stuff that we theoretically can handle. Because these people think we're too stupid to be Americans. Unbelievable. You're listening to the Wells Report. This is the USA Radio Network. What?
Last segment, Pookie.
Pookie.
Yeah. I mean, if Fred were there right now, your ratings would be off the chart.
Will you stop it?
All you have to say is hi.
You're pissing me off.
That's all you have to do. He'll do all the heavy lifting for you.
You're killing me.
Listen.
I'm going to hurt you.
Let me tell you something. I want to dig up an old joke I used to say to you a long time ago.
Oh, God.
Okay. See, his voice is like paint.
Who?
Fred's. It's like paint. You know what I mean? And the public airwaves are his canvas. And he uses his wisdom as his paintbrush.
Can I go throw up now?
You're going to create some real art.
Wow. God, am I ever going to feel better again?
Yeah. Well,
son of a gun.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing. You got to get off this, like everybody else is doing, 12, 14-hour day kick. That's number one.
I don't have any choice, man.
Yeah, you do. You're the boss.
Do you have any idea? I mean,
you're the general.
There is no stopping it. There is no. I mean, this is a juggernaut that just continues and continues and continues.
What, the station or the cold?
No, the station, and you just can't leave.
You could take a day to sleep, get better. You know what? Let me tell you something. You're no good to them dead.
Yeah.
Or you can get El Frederico to fill in for you.
Oh yeah, that's great.
Over the Empire.
Hey, have you ever been on this network when another show started like this one? Were you at the beginning of this one when Wayne Allen Root started?
And Rusty. Yeah.
How long did it take before their phones were lit?
Rusty never took calls. Wayne took about maybe 3 weeks.
So it's already been 3 weeks.
Yeah. Here's the thing. People got to know you guys are there. It was for the longest time a simulcast feed. So now you're a stand.
Yeah, I guess. Whew. I just gave you boo-boo lip.
You know what you should do?
What now?
I actually had a suggestion for you.
I'm listening.
And it's a very good one.
Uh-huh.
Go, find a restaurant who does barbecue.
Yeah.
Get a trade deal.
Sure.
Have a KBDT barbecue with the listeners. Get to know some of the listeners. You know, part of the community. I don't know.
Say what? I'm sorry. What were you saying?
No,
I was busy. I'm still busy.
Okay, I was trying to give you a promotion.
I'm busy.
Idea. Okay, thank you. All right.
Still busy.
45 seconds to rejoin.
Busy. Oh, thanks, bud.
What's wrong?
Nothing. It was great. We had a power failure. We had a power glitch.
Yeah, you told me.
And it blew the board off, and and David couldn't figure out. He goes, "Oh, where are the switches? What are the switch locations?"
Real quick, was it David's turn?
I don't know, man.
They don't know.
You are listening to the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. Technology in the news today. Technology in the news. It appears as though, remember our flying cars? Remember the Jetsons? Remember the Jetsons? His boy Elroy. Yeah. Anyway, it appears as though that Uber and the powers that be are planning to have flying cars in LA by 2020. And you're going to be able to Uber your way around LA from helipad to helipad in a flying car that won't be flown by anybody. Are you actually going to do that? I'm not going to get into a car that's not flown by anybody. I don't know that I'd get in a car that was not flown by me. Anyway, that's happening. I thought you'd like to know about that. And then there's this. Remember how I've been reporting to you about artificial intelligence? Yesterday, the nugget that now they're actually trying to come up with artificial intelligence that designs, wait for it, other artificial intelligence. Guess what the Russians have been up to? A colonel who runs a research directory or a directorate outside Moscow has come forth with the news that the Russians have come up with a brand new armed tank. This is an amazing tank. It has outperformed manned platforms in recent exercises in the Alabino proving grounds outside Moscow. That's right. I said it outperformed manned platforms. You see, it is an autonomous, artificially intelligent tank that makes its own decisions. Colonel Oleg Pomazuev told Russian News Military Review in late October that the robot, called Nereta, carries a 12.7 millimeter or 7.62 millimeter machine gun or an AG-30M grenade launcher. The Russian colonel did not say which manned platforms the Nereta outperformed, but among his service vehicles of similar size are BRDMs, which is a reconnaissance vehicle. It's like a BMP, except it's got wheels, and the GAZ Tiger. Russians are testing a wide variety of UGVs, unmanned ground vehicles, from small IED disposable robots to large armed ones. This, according to Samuel Bendet, an associate research analyst with the Center for Naval Analyses International Affairs Group. They've also been stating for a while that their modernization and state armaments program will include high-tech and unmanned systems. They're creating tanks that think for themselves and outperform manned platforms. They don't have movie theaters in Russia. They don't know who Arnold Schwarzenegger is. They've never seen The Terminator. Ever.
Red Dawn.
What are they thinking? What are they doing? Now they're building artificially intelligent tanks. The only thing that I hope is that I hope that these tanks find them before they find us. Unbelievable. Incredible. The executive producer of the Wells Report is the Philip Brown. Technical production is done by Chris Campbell. I'm John David Wells. God bless you. See you tomorrow for another edition of the Wells Report.
Hey, Red Dawn they've seen.
Red Dawn doesn't have anything.
Yeah.
No. What?
Yeah, they've seen Red Dawn. They've seen Red Dawn.
Well.
All right. I'll see you tomorrow, sir.
Yes, you will.
I miss you already.
Miss you too, brother. Thanks very much for everything. Take good care, okay?
You too, buddy. Get
Bye-bye.
some rest.
Yeah, I'm going
Seriously,
to.
get some rest.
Yeah, I will.
All right.
Peace, love, joy out.
You too.
Okay, friends. Little overtime action. Have anything you want to ask me? There are 10 of you. See how many people are actually signed into the chat. Let's see. Participants. We have Angel Wings, Random Tattoo, Sandy 3-Bar M Farm, and Yvonne Field. Evie. So that leaves six people watching now. The lurkers. So yes, I read your name, Sandy. I did. So what's going on, darling? What's happening, anyone? Does anybody have a question? We can't hear you. We cannot hear you. You should be able to hear me. We can't hear you, JD. We cannot. You should be able to. I can see everything bouncing. Let me see if I can hear myself. See? We can't hear you, JD. We cannot. You should be able to hear me. Do an F5. I can see it. F5. Why? How come all these people are still watching? Oh, Jonathan Martin is there. F5. I can. Yeah, you guys, you should be able to hear me. Mr. Logan. Arletta Lamb. How are you, sweetie pie? So anything else? You guys had any questions? On YouTube, you can hear? Yes. Yes, on YouTube, you can hear. Are you on Google? Logan, are you on Google? Let me write this down. What am I saying? If you can't hear me, why am I asking him questions? Logan, are you on Google? Oops. Google? Logan, are you on Google? Well, all right. So anyway, so you got any questions? Anybody? Anything? Yes or no? Did you enjoy the show? I'm on Chrome. Yes, Google Hangouts too. And you can't hear me? He's on Chrome. You can't hear me if you're on Chrome? How do you like my new offices? You need to log on to him. How do you like my new offices? How do you like my window? I can hear perfectly 5x5 now. But thanks. What? See, look. What do you think of my new digs? I moved all the chairs out of the way, and then people moved them back. Why? I have no clue. None. Thank you. They are nice offices. They're small, but they're nice. They're cool. I did enjoy the show. Love the new view. I'm glad you like the new view. I like the new view too, but I got to figure out how to, when the sun's out, I got to figure out how to let you see out there so that you can still see me. I put some light. I put some light the way it's supposed to be, and that actually made me look a lot younger. Yeah. Trisha Monk. Okay. Yes, I'm coughing a lot. Man, my God, this cold is killing me, man. Never underestimate the power of antihistamines and the things that I take. If you want to know how I do this, because you want us to come in and ask questions, laugh a lot, 5 minutes fame for usins. 5 minutes of fame. Anyway, I take Mucinex and I take Zyrtec and I take aspirin and I take sometimes like today I took some Excedrin today because it's got caffeine in it. So it kind of lifted me up a little bit. I also took a 5-hour energy earlier today. Am I avoiding the traffic? Oh, no. No, there's no way to avoid the traffic. It's going to take me an hour and a half to get home. It sucks. Traffic sucks. You know, when you get off the air at midnight, there's nobody out there. Nobody. But when you get done at like 5, all right, great show. Thank you very much, Logan. I got to go. You got to go. So that's therein is itself the end of overtime here on the Wells Report on most of this same USA Radio Network station. Okay, so ta-ta.